Man, I don't know what you appreciate right now if you're a Cowboys fan. 34-6 the final yesterday to the Philadelphia Eagles. 50% of their salary cap was missing the game. Now, that includes Dak Prescott. But it's not like they were playing well prior to this matchup in Week 10. A beatdown. Chad, they have trailed by 3 scores or more in 8 of the last 23 games played. They have been boat raced at home. They have an owner, Jerry Jones, who refuses to shut the damn curtains at Cowboys at AT&T Stadium.
We will let the sun shine through.
I mean, and this is the least of their concerns. I mean, it's not the sun, it's the roster that they have to deal with. They have a lame duck head coach. They've just given a boatload of money to their quarterback and wide receiver. Micah Parsons is on deck. And Philadelphia comes in and moves to 7-2 over their division rival after, at halftime it's 14-6, and then the second half opened up and it was gone. This is a team going nowhere fast. And I mean, they've been in a season without a destination at the end of it. It's crazy because they're way more talented to begin the season than where we sit right now. But it's like clockwork. Give them time and the Cowboys will screw this up. It's just normally in the postseason. After 3 straight years of 12-win regular seasons, we now sit here with Dallas and look at what they've done. And it's nothing but disappointment at 3-6.
And Jerry Jones is 82 years old. And I have a hard time seeing right now how Jerry Jones is going to be a part of their next Super Bowl. And that's sad for me. I like Jerry Jones, but they got to blow things up. They're going to have a new head coach next year. They're going to have to go find a new quarterback. Dak Prescott is not the answer, and now he can't stay healthy either. This is a complete rebuild from the ground up. They've got some good players. It's not like we thought they were going to be a bad team coming into this year. The roster is okay. They needed Derrick Henry badly, and they did not make that happen. They needed some other things clearly, but what they need more than anything is a complete different navigation system. And that starts with Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones ain't selling this team. This team will only be in new ownership when Jerry Jones passes away at some point. So I wanted to see Jerry have success one more time as the owner of the Cowboys before that day comes. And now I watch them this season, I think, I don't know that that's going to happen now that you're completely starting things over from scratch. And how long is that going to take to build it back up? I don't know.
Yeah, you've got Cooper Rush, who filled in for Dak Prescott in this. I mean, again, you got Jones, who left his seat halfway through the game, through the third quarter. It was that bad. And then you have post-game comments where he's like, I'm not going to change head coaches during the season. Take the hint, Mike McCarthy. And maybe he did prior to the season kicking off when he didn't get a contract extension. But, on top of it, you got CeeDee Lamb, who's trying to catch passes while looking at the sun. This is not the first time it's happened. It's happened several times in the past with the positioning of the way the stadium sits in Arlington, and it's all strategic based on how they're building up the area and how the setting is going to look, the horizon. But they have curtains for this. They host basketball tournaments in their stadium, and for whatever reason, Jerry Jones refuses to shut the curtains during game day, and you have CeeDee Lamb post-game. He's asked, are you in favor of curtains after dropping passes? He says, yes. And then he's asked, are you going to talk to Jerry about it? He goes, you guys are kind of doing that for me as we talk about this right now. And then Jerry is asked about it, Chad. And Jerry,
he had a really funny response.
He's like, well, we know at the coin toss which way the sun is going to be, facing. And which direction we're going to be facing to look directly at the sun. So, I mean, it's not like the sun changes or the direction of the stadium changes. I have no idea why he won't shut the curtain.
His exact quote, by the way, he just offered this up upon hearing about CeeDee Lamb and him being blinded. We know where the sun is going to be when we decide to flip the coin or not. And I don't decide to flip the coin or not. I don't know if he's like sarcastically saying flip it on whether or not to put the blinds up or draw the curtains in.
No, he's saying like at the coin flip, you get to take the ball in the direction you want.
Yeah.
At the time of day when the sun's going to be setting.
Right. He just said when we decide to flip the coin or not, which was an odd way to put it.
It's up to him if he wants to do it.
Right. We do know where the damn sun is going to be in our own stadium. Then someone piped in and said, well, why not put up curtains over the windows? Jerry, Well, let's tear the damn stadium down and build another one. Are you kidding me? Everybody's got the same thing. Every team that comes in here has the same issues. I'm saying the world knows where the sun is. You get to know that almost a year in advance. Someone asked me about the sun. What about the sun? Where's the moon? That from Jerry Jones. One of the greatest rants ever. Are you kidding me? For a year we've known where the sun. The Native Americans had a sundial, people. Many, many years ago, and they knew where the sun was going to be.
They had a sundial.
We know where the damn sun is. Where's the moon? Is the next question.
They had a sundial. We have AT&T Stadium to let us know.
When Jerry Jones responds like this, I come into this thing, just put the curtains up. What's the problem? This seems like an easy fix. I side with CeeDee Lamb. And then Jerry says things like this, and I'm right back on Jerry's side because it's so funny. I got a better idea. Let's tear the damn stadium down while we're at it and build a new one. Are you kidding me? Was his response to the questions over the sun.
Yeah, he owns everything there.
Which, look, if you're Jerry Jones,
so stupid, though.
He's got a big hand in this, obviously. But if you're Jerry Jones, I think we can all understand the frustration after an absolute beatdown at home to your rival, and you're 0 for the season at home in this beautiful stadium you've built, and the talk coming out of it is whether or not you could put curtains up to stop the glare. And his response is exactly what it was, because he's thinking there are bigger things to worry about here with this team that's on the field, but getting their ass kicked regularly at home.
In their last, 2 of their last 3 home games, though, the sun has played a major factor in receivers having success or not. Like first downs, converting a huge play down the middle of the field. You have CeeDee Lamb. You just had a holdout this past August. Then you decide to pay him. Even he wants the curtains closed. You just you made Dak Prescott the highest paid player just hours before the season opener. 4 years, $240 million. He's throwing into the sun with wide receivers. He's not anymore because, how about this? The hamstring torn off the bone. Season-ending surgery coming up for Dak Prescott. So he's done. You have no hope as the backup quarterback with Cooper Rush or Trey Lance, who came in and threw a pick. And you're getting boat raced by your divisional opponent at home. You're going to be looking for a new head coach. And that's really the overhaul, is the head coach, because you're stuck with the players. And it's with Prescott, they messed around and never extended him. Now they're paying the premium price. So
I don't know if it's just going to be a coach that can come in and fix it.
Well, it's the attitude and the focus of this. The last 3 years,
the whole culture of what's going on.
Well, the culture,
it can change with one head coach and a new coaching staff. That's for sure.
36 wins over the last 3 years prior to this year.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
And no playoff success.
No playoff success. Highest scoring offense, though, that now is,
inept.
Complaining about the sun.
Completely inept. Got Jerry Jones asking the question, do you want me to build a new damn stadium while we're at it?
Jerry paid for everything there.
We knew where the sun was going to be for a year. We know where the sun is.
Yeah. I remember what Jim Irsay, an hour and a half before the game, you have to declare whether or not the roof is going to be open. And he would always tweet it out. That was his announcement, whether or not the roof you have the stadium that's going to be open.
Should we get an announcement on curtains or not now?
Well, I think he's saying, the curtains are always going to be open.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Sun Belt basketball tournament.
Unless someone forces us to shut those curtains, it's going to be open. We're going to experience some natural light in this bad boy. That's why I built it this way. It's an homage to the old Texas Stadium that was not complete with the hole in the roof.
Look at it, though. Look at this.
To have that shadow come in. We want to have these shadows.
It's affecting, it just makes no sense to me, Chad. The way your offense is built.
Everyone who comes in here
has
has to
no run
deal with
game.
this.
You have no run game, so you're going to be throwing the football. You're trailing by double digits anyway. Shut the damn curtains.
What if they just lifted the curtains when the other team was having to stare into it? Going that way? The crowd's going nuts. They get a slow clap started, and the curtains slowly pull back to them being blinded.
Initially, it was
win
like a
Jerry
photo
Jones,
op.
the fans, right back if that happened.
Jerry apparently likes the photos that come from the sun coming through the window. But, again, how many photos do you need? You need that Cooper Rush throw?
Can you imagine being the person in charge of stadium operation?
No.
And having to explain, well, we can't put the curtains up because Jerry likes the photo ops that come with the sun shining through.
That's their season.
Having to be your response?
Their season has gone from can we get this turned around to, will Jerry ever close the curtains?
I mean, it's at some point you have to say the season is lost. At least the people who have paid for tickets can have an enjoyable Sunday in our building. So if they want natural sunlight for their photos, then we're going to give them natural sunlight for their photos because we certainly can't give them a win to come celebrate. As a Cowboys fan, might as well give them photo ops.
Over their last
that golden hour coming in Dallas. Here we go.
Chad, you mentioned not entertaining. Over the last 23 games, the Cowboys have trailed 42-10 to San Francisco, 31-3 to Buffalo. At home, these are all home games here, 27-0 to Green Bay, 35-13 at home this year, week 1. Baltimore, they trailed 28-6. Detroit, 27-3. 49ers on the road, 27-10. And yesterday, 28-6. They've been down 3 scores or a lot more, again, 8 times in their last 23 games.
Not good.
No.
Not good for the Cowboys.
And they miss Dan Quinn a lot, who's now the head coach and doing great things with the Washington Commanders.
You know who else they miss? Jimmy Johnson. That's really the last time they were pretty.
How about them Cowboys?
Barry Switzer's still alive too. I mean, that's the last time this team was truly relevant.
Garrett?
Jason Garrett's on Sunday Night Football in America on NBC. He could easily be brought back.
You know what, Chad? We live in a world where the highest paid player on defense right now, Nick Bosa, has a GoFundMe for his $11,000 fine for wearing the Maga hat on NBC. We knew he was going to be fined. This comes at no surprise, right? Like the NFL waited until after the election to hand this down. But even Bosa admitted, yeah, I knew it was against NFL policy. So he's reportedly going to have to pay $11,255. There's now a GoFundMe page that's been started to pay for Bosa's fine for violating this uniform and equipment policy. And on the same weekend, he's giving the Trump dance, celebrating on the road against Tampa Bay, as one of the top players in the NFL has a GoFundMe, and he's just reveling in the sweet victory of last week. So who's going to donate to this multi-millionaire?
I don't know. People who shouldn't, probably. Probably people who don't really have the money to be giving to something like this are going to be donating to it, if I had to guess.
He has a net worth of $50 million.
I can't tell people how to spend their money, and this is funny that there's a GoFundMe page for a millionaire to spend something that's pocket change to him
this year
because they want to make some sort of signal about what he did or whatever. But I would just advise people to, if you want to spend your money on charity, I can't tell you where to spend your money on charity. I will say, don't spend it here.
I mean, yeah.
Bosa can afford
you're right.
it.
It's
funny.
Fine.
Like if you're that devoted to the MAGA cause or whatever it is, then donate to something that Donald Trump's trying to accomplish, or donate to whoever the next person is running in your state or your area or whatever that you want to support. You can give that money that you would give to Nick Bosa to pay his fine to somewhere else more productive than this. This is a waste of money for people. That's what it is.
It's just,
I hate to break it down in such plain common sense terms, but you're really wasting your money here. This is someone who can afford it.
Yeah.
We've been bitching about the economy for so long now, and we can't afford eggs and milk, but we're going to give money to the GoFundMe of a multimillionaire defensive football player in the NFL because he wore a hat?
A 5-year
and you're
contract.
Mad that he wore a hat and got fined?
5-year contract, $170 million.
Whew.
$11,000 fine.
Well.
By the way, we don't know what charity the NFL will donate this to. It just comes out of his check, right? But
what if it went to Black Lives Matters?
I mean,
NFL fans bitch about all that, right? There's all these things on there about racism and all these things. And we can't have that. What if they're giving it to something you don't support?
Well, this is GoFundMe, though.
Right.
Well,
but what if the fine money, you're inadvertently giving money back that went to, I don't know what charity it is, but something you don't approve of. My point is, just give it to a charity you approve of instead of to Nick Bosa, who is donating to an NFL charity.
Also, I hate thinking about this. Half the time on GoFundMe, I'm wondering, what happens
How much money do they take?
No. Like, well, that's another thing. But also,
they do take some of it.
Also, I'm thinking like, if it's just a crowdsourcing deal, right? Like everyone's in on the trend. How do I know to trust the person that's behind this account that's collecting this money? I mean, if it was Chad, I would trust him.
But he wouldn't trust me.
No. But I'm like,
he would have screwed up. He trusted me. He shouldn't have.
Again, I think it's all in it's all in good humor, but at the same time, it's like, man, tried to pay the guy's fine. This guy can sneeze and he just made $11,000.
Yeah,
per play.
It's just
the ball is snapped.
Like I hate getting into this. Like at some point, you just want to win and not do something dumb that people you call dumb would do, and then you just replicate dumb things. This feels like something that would be done by the people that are actually paying into this, that they hate, and they espouse they hate all the time, and now they're kind of doing the same thing in reverse. And it's stupid because he's a millionaire. He doesn't need the money. Yeah. He certainly doesn't need the money of the people who are likely giving to this GoFundMe.
He signed his name on the contract and made $50 million.
Right. Like if Elon Musk came in and was like, I'll just pay the damn fine, and then on top of that, I'm going to give $1 million to this charity that the NFL works with because I think it's ridiculous he's being fined. That would be cool and funny because he's an effing billionaire, and it's nothing to him. Just like $11K is nothing to effing millionaire Nick Bosa. But you giving money to it is something to you. So I'm trying to make people better stewards of their own money by telling you, do not donate a dime to whatever this GoFundMe is. And to Hutton's point, who the hell knows where it's even going?
Yeah, because the NFL takes it out, and then they're the ones writing it off, I guess.
Right. How did the Black Lives Matters payments go when you find out the scandals involved with that, where the money was donated and what was actually being done with it? Know where you're giving your money, people. That's my lesson.
Well said. The Chiefs keep winning. That's what they do. And an improbable victory here where the Broncos did everything but win the game. They had a chance to kick a field goal, a short one at that, and the Chiefs block the potential game winner as time expires. They remain perfect on the season, and you have so many ways. If you told me like the Chiefs won on a last-second play, I'm thinking Patrick Mahomes threw a touchdown to Travis Kelce. No. This is special teams. 35-yard attempt, chip shot. 16-14 the final score. Chiefs win on the blocked kick.
And he missed Kelce on what would have been a pretty open touchdown that would have given them a cushion. At least on a 2-point conversion, they would have taken a 7-point lead.
Yeah.
So that's what made that field goal attempt to win the game possible, where those 3 points would have won it for Denver. And the Chiefs come through again. Uncanny ability to just find a way in the closing minutes of games to win. Because that offense is very average.
They're different. Yeah, for sure.
Very, very average.
Their defense is legit. They refuse to lose. 9-0, 34-yard attempt. It's the fourth blocked kick in a clutch moment, I guess, for a game winner situation like this. That is a chip shot, where it's a gimme. Fourth block kick since 1999 in that type of situation. That's how improbable it was. So
it's so rare you see a block kick on a short field goal.
Right.
You see it in the NFL a lot on those long ones where they have to get it lower and someone gets a hand on it. Rarely on a short field goal like that will it be blocked.
Jason Garrett said this on NBC. The Chiefs know they're going to win, and the problem is the opponent also knows that they're going to win. They're going to find a way. And, I can't even call it luck anymore, right? Like, that's just what they do.
The Chiefs have a little bit of the Tiger Woods in his Sunday red effect on
That's a great way to put it.
When Tiger Woods is climbing up the leaderboard or gets a lead on a Sunday in his heyday, not only was Tiger going to be mentally stronger than everyone else is going to be mentally weaker than normal because they know Tiger is looming. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. They both wear red on Sundays, and it's the same deal. Everyone else wilts in their presence. And that's why they're undefeated right now. It's not always what the Chiefs do. It's what the other team doesn't do in those moments. It's
moments like this, though, that make me think, okay, the offense is very average. You're right. Defense is otherworldly. They're playing great. You have they're up against a great defense in Denver as well, by the way. And then you have these – I'm overlooking them again for another Super Bowl win. I did this last year too. I mean, no one's talking about the three-peat. Everyone's discussing Detroit.
Yeah.
What's
weird, Hutton, is I can't think about anyone else but them winning the Super Bowl because they haven't lost yet.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the top of everything I think about when the NFL, it starts with the Chiefs.
How about Detroit last night, though?
Detroit's the only other one that I'm thinking a lot about right now because of the one-loss record and the way they're pulling things out in the end. But I can't get past the Kansas City Chiefs and their inability to lose, and not only that, the inability for their opponent to beat them, to put them away when it's time. Everyone continues to fail at that.
So let's get to college football, shall we?
Let's do it.
Georgia, Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin has the biggest win of his coaching career. Top 5 opponent. What were they, 0-9?
This was
all-time?
I think
Kiffin,
they were.
or was it
I
Ole
think
Miss?
Kiffin was 0-5 at Ole Miss against top 5 competition. This was his 6th try and first win.
So, Chad,
it's the biggest win of his career at Ole Miss. Biggest win of his career, period, as a coach.
Period, yeah, because he doesn't win these games. But right now, neither does Georgia. And my takeaway, Ole Miss won. They are really, really good. Defense, top 25 offense, defense. Don't overlook the Rebels. But I'm kind of counting out Georgia. I'm going to play the Chiefs card previously. With Georgia, there's something off. And for a while, I wasn't able to put my finger on it. It's not just Carson Beck, but he's a problem. But, Chad, they've lost that edge. And I'm not sure Kirby Smart can get this back on the rails, back on path, the way that either he can snap players into it at a halftime speech, the way he's learned from Saban and how they keep things going, even with all the distractions going on. There's a different vibe and a different perception I have of this Georgia team. And it's not just the off-season arrests and racing and reckless driving issues that go back a ways. I mean, that's a big part of it that I think about often. But then you see things like this. Jake Pope, who played for Alabama, now plays for Georgia. He's cutting up and dancing and jumping up and down with a friend from high school as Ole Miss storms the field. And for the life of me, I can't figure out this a smile on his face, the whole thing. He's apologized for it. Kirby Smart called him an idiot. I mean, he was more pissed off about Jake Pope doing this than some of the off-season issues that have been going on. But, I mean, you got the smile on the face of Jake Pope, where, again, he's apparently with a friend, again, Ole Miss. This is bizarre to me right after the game, after you lose. It's their first loss in, 52 games, I think is the number, to a team not named Alabama.
First loss to a team not named Alabama since 2020, since the pandemic.
Think about that.
COVID year.
And this loss comes with another aspect of now it's a must-win game coming up against Tennessee this weekend, where the playoffs are on the line for the Georgia Bulldogs. But you also have quarterback Carson Beck. And let me preface this before we show it. Who knows what they're discussing? They could be saying, man, how bad are we? Having a joke on the sideline about their performance. But this is Carson Beck sitting next to Jaden Rashada. And look at the score. This is preseason Heisman hopeful Carson Beck, leader of the Georgia Bulldogs, laughing on the sideline with Jaden Rashada down 22-10 with 3.5 minutes left. What? You see the comments from you've got the picking up. This is his mom, Harlan.
Harlan Rashada.
Yeah, the dad, I believe, of Rashada. I'm sure that there have been countless times Carson has picked up Jaden, so this brings joy to my heart to see the bond of the two elite competitors holding strong in a moment of defeat. That's real brotherhood. Heavy is the hand that wears the crown, but we ain't done. Go Dogs. Okay. This is different, though, because this is king of the mountain right here, Georgia. Getting knocked off, not once but twice this season, and not to Alabama, and not to Oregon or Ohio State in the national championship game. This is Ole Miss that finally knocked down a top 5 opponent, and it happens to be you in a season where you don't look like you. And that starts from the top down with Kirby Smart. But I've never seen this from a Kirby Smart group that walks around and says, you got to pay attention to the details, tuck your shirt in. And this is Carson Beck we're looking at here.
Do you think, Hutton, that Jaden Rashada was whispering to Carson Beck, just wait until I get all that lawsuit money that I sued Florida for?
Yeah. Can you believe they're keeping Napier?
I'll give you half of it if you take a dive and let me play and let me start.
I mean.
Yeah, can you believe that Billy Napier is going to get another year?
Stay.
Another chance? The guy I'm suing at Florida? That's really funny that when you see Jaden Rashada, I immediately think he's actively suing Florida and their collective for money he's owed by the Gators.
And the coach
while he's playing on Georgia's roster. Florida's arguably their biggest rival. There was always bound to be a time when a coach that can't get his team to stop committing crimes with their vehicles to where that was going to carry over and he was going to start getting his team to not do things he says on the field to and not play the way he wants to play. This did not look like a Kirby Smart coach team on Saturday. Hutton's right. They don't have that same Kirby edge they've had.
They lost.
Kirby Smart's showing that edge with opposing players when he's shoving Mississippi State players out of bounds. He's so mad at his own guys, he's shoving the opponent at times. He doesn't do enough to curb all of the crimes being committed in Athens by his team. Eventually, that runs over to the football field. But I'm not ready to bury this team yet because the last time I was ready to do that, they looked awful for a half against Alabama before coming back, and they lost. They beat Kentucky by 1 point. They're winning by 10 over Mississippi State, and they're shoving the opponent on the sideline. And they go to Austin, Texas, and just kick the shit out of the Longhorns in that game, in a game where the final score could have been worse. And after the game, Kirby Smart is screaming like a WWE heel, talking about they tried to take it from us, and they couldn't do it. And we went out here and showed them. I think they're going to rise up again. Now, what does that mean? Are they good enough, even if they rise up, to make some hay in the college football playoff if they get there? I think we'll talk about it throughout the week. I think they're going to beat Tennessee because I'm not so sure Tennessee's going to have a starting quarterback on Saturday for that game. They're going to rise up again at home, and they're going to beat the Vols on Saturday. Well, then what? They're going to probably end up 10-2, although Georgia Tech will be a test at the end of the year, as we saw this past weekend. Are they good enough to rally enough times to play discipline enough to play with that edge? And playing with that edge means playing on the edge. On the edge of, not pushing the opposing player if you're the coach and pushing him. It's right up to that line. That's what Georgia does so well, and they do it with superior players because they've recruited so well. Can they get back to that enough to actually be a legitimate national champion threat? Hutton, the more I see of this team, the more I think no. They're not a national champion threat. Could they still sneak into the back of the playoff? Yeah. I think they could. I think it starts on Saturday. But are they a national champion threat? I'm not looking at them that way anymore.
Well, and that's the issue right there. Because I'm looking at signs of internal fallout. Like there's just a different mindset going on there. And it looks like it's starting from the locker room and on the and moving out, but it starts up top. And the way Kirby Smart's handled things, where he's talking about NIL, fines, and all this. And then you have, just the childhood friend or not, celebrating on the field at Ole Miss as the storming of the field's going down after you lose. And not just lose, but never in control after he scored the first touchdown and, put up nothing. It's bad, man.
Yeah,
and then you have Kirby Smart, who's talking more about this than he has any other issue off the field. So he's asked about it, and he says, "What an idiot. Just stupid. I didn't see it until today." He's embarrassed by it. He's upset about it. That's obviously a childhood friend of his. They grew up and played at Buford. Hadn't seen him in forever. Just not real smart. But to be honest, I don't have time to waste energy on that. You know what I'm saying? My focus is on Tennessee. I'm not real worried about that. Well, that's the problem, is you're not worried about the details.
Yep.
And I went into there was a video on SEC Network that Georgia and Alabama, I'm sure, collaborated on, where they're mic'd up, and you got to put effort into the details, right? This is exactly what Kirby Smart's been preaching to players of the past that they don't have right now. And that, and far too often I see kind of just a sleepwalking mentality. They can turn it on, but there's a sleepwalking mentality that I'm just not buying Georgia. And I've been saying I want to buy into the great coaches that are just Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney, but I can't buy into the way he's handled this team this year, Chad.
No, I can't either. And I can't buy into his response to this player Pope celebrating and doing that on the field after the game. It was stupid. I also think it's sort of a byproduct of what we see with transfers. Like, if you are just ingrained in the program Georgia Bulldog guy that's been there multiple years, does that happen for that guy? Or does it happen to the guy who just transferred in from Alabama, who's in a game at Ole Miss where you're not really tied to any one program, and you start jumping up and down because you see your buddy who's an Ole Miss fan after the game?
He didn't play for – I mean, he played for Saban and Kirby Smart, right?
He spent 2 seasons at Bama, then transferred to Georgia. My point being, what we think of program loyalty, of never celebrating with another team after the game, is not what these kids 18 to 22 think about program loyalty.
No, but
they should be loyal to the team they're on, no doubt. And I would say most all of them are.
But you also have the quarterback there that's cutting up on the sideline. Again, don't know the conversation. Don't really need to, though, in this moment, because I could say that about any program, and that's the way Georgia looks right now. It's just any program looking for the college football playoff. That's what Ole Miss is doing. Georgia possibly missing the playoff and just getting in on the back end of the seeding and the bracket, Chad. That is a huge glaring issue that goes back months to the last couple of off seasons.
Also, Carson Beck has gotten worse. That's very concerning. Take the weird Snapchats and the Lambo and the laughing on the sideline and all that aside.
Cavender twins.
The dude is not nearly as good as he was a year ago.
No.
And I don't see a lot of faith in the play calling right now with Georgia, with Mike Bobo.
They don't have a run game either.
Well, when they don't have a run game too, look at all of the throws that were just on the line of scrimmage. I mean, how many times were they going to go on 2nd and long or 3rd and long to try to pop some screen that had no chance of working when they're throwing it 10 yards straight to the sideline on a play? I mean, they don't trust Carson Beck right now. They didn't trust him in that game. Their run game gave them no reason to trust and call more run plays.
No.
And then when they're calling plays like that, it's a very, very beatable team. And Ole Miss took it to them after falling behind 7-0, took it to the Bulldogs on Saturday, and good for Lane Kiffin. That's the biggest win of his career. He needed that one badly.
Yes, it will make it more about Ole Miss than Georgia moving forward, but that was my big takeaway. What about Billy Napier getting the vote of confidence? Not just that, but he's coming back next year, and then they go to Texas and just get hammered, knocked out, first round KO, when they've been playing hard for this coach all season to show up after the coach gets his job, and they look like that against Texas.
Truly odd roller coaster of a season here for Florida. They open up. They get embarrassed at home by Miami. And Miami players are joking with recruits in the stands to see Florida to come to the U and taunting everyone on the way off the field. A couple weeks later, they get bullied by Texas A&M in the Swamp. It looks like Billy Napier is a dead man walking. It's over for Sunbelt Billy. He's done at the end of the year. There's internal turmoil. We're talking about players leaving the program after 4 weeks to avoid, so they can redshirt and go somewhere else and not lose eligibility. All these things swirling around the program. What is Scott Strickland going to do? And then suddenly, Florida starts playing better. They go to Knoxville. They push the Vols to overtime and a loss. They shellac Kentucky at home. They start looking like a competent football team that's playing really hard and playing well. That earns their coach another year. And then it was like all of a sudden, our coach has another year. Let's take a nap for the rest of the year now. Boy, it's November. It's autumn. It's sleepy time of year. Let's just go to sleep collectively, because that was a pathetic effort. That was some of the worst defense I've ever seen from a Florida Gator football team. That was the easiest touchdown passes you're going to see in SEC games from Quinn Ewers. No pass rush. They had 1 sack on the first drive of the game, and that was it for Florida. Everything Texas wanted to do offensively, it was a clinic from Steve Sarkisian with the play calls. Everything looked easy, because it was. Florida has now quit. That's what it looked like on Saturday to me. And I was here saying last week, boy, they look good against Georgia. He's won this job. And they can always just point back and say, well, we got the third-string walk-on quarterback from Yale that transferred in. Whatever happens, happens. Our coach is safe. And they make that announcement, and then I'm left that game watching it thinking, well, maybe he's not as safe as I thought, because I wasn't expecting that effort at Texas. I was expecting some fight defensively, something on offense. They had nothing all day. And then you get these weird comments from Jesse Palmer and Joe Tessitore on the broadcast where Jesse Palmer says, you know, Florida looked at it and said, well, we got DJ Lagway and a bunch of other players locked in on multi-year NIL deals. So they might as well bring him back and see what they can do in the transfer portal and come back next year. And I'm thinking, so now we're going to rely on an NIL system to lock guys in for multiple years while your NIL collective is being sued by Jaden Rashada for not paying him the money that he was told he was going to get. So that's the system we're going to fall back on now. These guys have multi-year contracts. They're not going to go anywhere. They're locked into Billy Napier as part of their contract. What? So the dudes that are losing for Florida, you're so married to these guys that you're going to keep the coach around because they're locked in together on some NIL contract that we're not really supposed to have, but we're talking about on the ESPN broadcast. So you're going to do that, then just load up a bunch of money like Ole Miss did in the transfer portal and pray for what? Pray that you're not FSU, because that's what they just did in the transfer portal, and they're 1-9. I don't know. I thought I knew last week. I thought it was an okay decision to go ahead and roll the dice and not start over with a new coach. And Hutton, I see one game on a Saturday, and I'm hearing these things, and I'm thinking, I don't know anymore, because that team looks like they've quit again. For the second time this year, it looks like they've quit. That's what I thought on Saturday.
He's been able to reel them in, the first time. We'll see what happens because, hey, Florida State's coming up. They just fired some coaches after tied for the worst loss in program history. I see the effort against Texas, and I'm thinking, watch out, Billy Napier.
Florida, Hutton, is 30th in the national recruiting rankings, which is like 11th or 12th in the SEC. They have 11 commits right now in this class. 4 of those, I'm reading an article right now, 4 of those are likely to flip to go to other programs.
Well, who would commit not knowing the coaching thing?
They're trying to flip some Florida State guys and some others, which is funny because they are actually better off than Florida State. They're trying to flip some Florida State commitments. But this article is saying they're not going to go much over 11 in this class because they are going to allocate all their money in the transfer portal to try to turn over the roster quickly and make something for next year for Billy Napier.
Well, if you're Billy Napier, you have to do that if you want to keep your job. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. Or and hope that you don't get sued and do something where you can be fired with cause from Rashad. I don't feel, if you're a Florida fan, I'd be so apprehensive about all this because you're just not building a program. Well, and Scott Strickland.
And what we're doing, and you're definitely not building anything. And your basketball coach is going to coach tonight against Grambling with everything going on, too, we found out. If you're Scott Strickland, you're about to be out of a job whenever they hire a full-time president. And then, so he's a dead man walking.
That means the coaches are, too.
Right. So, but now, even with the new athletic director, let's say we hire Jonathan Hutton to come in from Kent State, where he's done a fantastic job, to come and lead the Florida program. Well, it's funny you say that, but if you look at that Florida program and this season and what's gone on, and your conclusion is, yeah, I'm willing to let these guys work with the collective and spend millions on a 1-year transfer portal reclamation project. And then if they win next year, yeah, I'm going to sign them up for a long-term contract. What? I mean, a new AD is liable to come in and be like, no, I'm good, man. I'd rather just start from scratch, bring in those same transfer portal guys, try to be competitive in year one while building and sustaining an actual program and not just trying to be a fly-by-night, year-to-year success with totally different guys. Let's build a program instead with my guy, whether that's Dan Mullen or
Dabo.
Kurt Signetti.
Go get Dabo.
Or anyone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of guys you could go hire at Florida. I'm left scratching my head after Saturday. Because I knew they would lose to Texas.
But it's the effort.
I really thought they would cover the 21.5 or whatever and keep it somewhat competitive.
Double the spread.
That thing was over in the first quarter.
I saw the score. It was moving. I saw the score first quarter. I thought, I did a double take. Like, it's 40 what to nothing? It was awful.
Well, there's a great tweet about I think I sent it to you guys, but where it was like, I'm going to hang this, I'm going to frame this
yeah,
photo.
Yeah, yes.
And it was about like the
He
statement,
will be coming back.
the statement, and then it was 49-7 was the score.
And he's on the sideline.
And it's just a picture of, the still shot of Billy Napier on the sideline.